You want to see what I'm looking for out of my next senator?
I think people who don't talk about Medicare for all don't talk about it because too often they're very cozy with the companies who don't ever want to see Medicare for all happen. And if you've taken money from a health insurance company whose existence sits on the other side of Medicare for all, you might see it their way. And look, at the end of the day, if you want to play politics that way, I don't understand it. I don't play it that way. But then you get talking points like, we can't possibly have Medicare for all because one day it might be run by Republicans, and what would we do then? I don't know, maybe we do the same thing we do with Medicaid and Social Security and Medicare, which are government programs. That's a great way to talk yourself out of having any government program because maybe someday Republicans will win an election. Also, ask yourself why Republicans win elections. Is because we're so milquetoast about what we're actually fighting for that at the end of the day, we don't have anything to really say about problems. I'm sorry, but maybe we'd win if we were fighting for the things people need and deserve, and I happen to think healthcare is one of those things. And the funny thing about it is, I always get very serious people, right, who tell me, well, this is a pipe dream. I'm like, I don't know, but I went to whole medical school. On top of that, I did a PhD in public health. I wrote a whole book on how to do this. I ran health departments. I ran a government to small business health insurance program. I've worked in hospitals. I've run federally qualified health centers. I think I know a few things about healthcare. And very serious people with no experience in the whole system are like, well, that's not serious. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're not serious. You're not serious. And the reason you're not serious is because you're so bought into a system about what we cannot have because some corporation or another is telling you that what we cannot have.
Baked and polished, perfectly down the middle to win in Michigan. Perfectly down the middle doesn't win in Michigan. Otherwise, Michigan wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump twice. It turns out that you actually have to believe in something if you want to beat Trump, but also beat the system that created Trump. Michiganders are just frustrated. They can't afford their groceries. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford to see a doctor. What if we actually showed up and said, well, look, the corporate system that created Donald Trump is the problem, and we can actually fight that system, whether it shows up with a D or an R, to make sure we deliver for you. That's how we play to win, not just not to lose. And look, beating Mike Rogers, not going to be that difficult if we know what we stand for. This is a guy who voted to raise prescription drug prices 60 times, architected the legislation that kicked off the opioid epidemic, took a $14 million payout as a pharma lobbyist, and then has the audacity to tell us that he has anything to say about affordability or saving lives. I'm a doctor who rebuilt the health department in America's poorest city, who put Narcan in 100 different locations, who eliminated $700 million in medical debt. Who better to prosecute the case against Republicans than him? So yeah, I'm going to beat him up and down the state, but we're going to win because we have policies that actually answer.
Look, I know I'm not supposed to run for office. I get it. I got the wrong name. I got the wrong color of skin. I pray the wrong way. My family comes from the wrong place in the world. I get all of that. But I also am not going to come here and tell you what you cannot have and should not fight for. Because election after election after election, we are told that these seats are too important, that we've got to play not to lose, only to get representatives who functionally do the same thing that the other side would do with those same exact seats. And Gaylord, I want to tell you something. You know, I hear a lot, well, how's he going to win? When they say I can't win because of my name, they're not indicting me. I've been a guy named Abdul in Michigan for the better part of my whole life. There is nobody better at being an Abdul in Michigan. You know who they're indicting? You. They think that you are not big-hearted or open-minded enough. They think that Michiganders are too close-minded to invest their stake in democracy in a politician because they got a funny name. That's what they're saying. And one of the things I can tell you as an Abdul in Michigan is that Michiganders are big-hearted and they're open-minded. That Michiganders don't care as much about your name. They care whether or not you care to know their name. They don't care as much about how you pray. They care whether or not you are willing to pray for them. They want to know what you pray for, and that we all kind of pray for the same things if we pray at all. Those things are the things that unify us.